around this province, maybe we're going to get down that legislature and have those rallies that we had back in the 80s where we filled that whole area. We're going to tell El Stelmach and his government that he needs to fix this piece of legislation that wouldn't be seen anywhere else in a free and democratic society. But let me talk about some things that are somewhat related but unrelated to where we're at today. There is a lot wrong in the construction industry in this province today. And most of those things I don't have to tell you about, but I want to say something about them because it's been a constant source of frustration for me as a union rep, as a carpenter in this province, and how I feel like we've been screwed and let down. And you know what? I'm starting to look around, and as much as people say our industry's getting old in terms of the demographics, I look around and we got a lot of young people. And you know what? Those young people are becoming militant, they're becoming activists, and they will be the future of this union, and we got to ensure that we leave them a heritage. And the way we're going to do that is by a couple of things that we need to take a serious look at, and the government down the hill and your MLAs need to take a serious look at. And let me start with my favourite one, and I have to be very careful because they're already suing me for some serious dough for some comments I made in Fort McMurray a while ago, and that's my friends from Clack.
Oh.
And, but I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to be careful to say this, but I am going to tell you, I'm not going to talk about them, but I'm going to tell you what this government has allowed and this Labour Board has allowed them to do. They have come in here as a company friendly, they're not a union, they're an operation to sweetheart everything that we've ever worked for, undermined us with our pensions, our health and welfare, our overtime, and sweet talk owners and contractors, and now in some ways they become the Labour provider of choice. And I say to those men and women, you've got a choice. You either stand with us as a real union, or we're going to take you guys on. Because I'll tell you, the travesty that happened at CNRL over the last number of years over the last couple of years is shameful. We are the predominant building trades in this province. I don't have to tell you that. We are the most skilled, the safe, and the most productive. And what did CNRL do? They came to us as a building trades and said, you know what? We'll give you some of our job. They didn't tell us we'd give it all of it, some of it, and in return, we had to cut back our terms and conditions of employment. And you know, I don't have to tell you that they wanted rid of the double time, and they wanted us to work some hokey shifts. And you know what? You negotiate agreement in good faith, good, bad, or indifferent, that's the deal, take it or leave it. So what do? Unfortunately, again, they go and sweet talk some of our friends around the building trades, and then they go and talk to the CEP, who also then get into bed with them. And you know what they do? They divide and conquer working people who start to panic that we are losing our market share, and so we've got to go join them. And I'm saying to you people, do not go and join organizations that want to give up terms and conditions that your union has negotiated, wrong, right, or indifferent, and I will argue today still not good enough, and yet they go up there and do this. And then the ultimate insult to every Albertan and every Canadian, and we welcome people from Vancouver to the Maritimes, they bring people in here from areas that don't have the kind of work activity we have and expect them to come in here and work for less. And what they do, they cut the legs out from us. They cut the legs out from us by accepting less because they're desperate. And what we got to tell those people is, brother and sister, you're not just hurting me, you're hurting you, and you're hurting our industry, and you're lowering our standards. And then if that isn't good enough, what do? They go down the hill, they go and talk to the feds, and then they find a way to bring in temporary foreign workers who they know full well will never stand up for their rights in a working place like Alberta because they're afraid of being shipped home to countries where they arguably think this is a better place. Well, I'm going to tell you, if we don't do something about that, we will be that place. And you will be the temporary foreign workers going there. And I'm saying to you, enough is enough. So, the bottom bottom line is we have seen what's happened in CNRL in the last number of months. We've seen what's going on out there. We've been down to their shareholder meetings. They told us they would never bring in temporary farm workers. They brought in temporary farm workers. If you go to Calgary today, there is workers from Mexico and all parts of the third world down there working in abysmal conditions, living in employers' houses, don't want to say a word about it because they know they'll be shipped home. And you know what? You've got to ask yourself in this province, in this day and age, how can that be happening? So let me talk about two other things and then I'm going to go. The apprenticeship. We have the best apprenticeship